So I want to talk to you about millennials. I mean, we're focused today is on mobile. I want to talk about millennials because we've done a lot of analyses looking at millennials, and when you say millennials, the second word that comes up is mobile. Just to kind of jump to a conclusion, one of the things that I hope to show you is, and this is my own analogy, so this is unscientific, but in the way that boomers identified themselves and collectively through their music, millennials seem to identify themselves through their mobile technology. It's a different kind of an angle, but it's a unifying factor in their culture, I think, or at least the evidence suggests that. So that's one of the things I want to show you. The other thing is as we've looked at different generational cohorts, we've seen that millennials are just different. And that's a big statement actually, because kind of people are always people. But if you think about it, millennials were born at a time when some people anyway expected the world to end, right? So at the end of the millennium, the world was going to come to an end. So I guess that told them don't make any plans. And that if you didn't think the world was going to come to an end, at least we were going to have that. Remember the technological apocalypse, Y2K? That didn't happen. So they grew up in a time of some negative expectations. So I think that, and maybe some other factors, who knows, have resulted in this generation being just a little bit different. So in order to take a peek at millennials, we're going to use a data system called USA Touchpoints. It's the best of our knowledge, the only syndicated study of consumers' daily lives. It takes a look at what we call the 5 dimensions of life. There are probably more than 5, but these are the 5 that we measure: where people are, who they're with, what they're doing, the media that they use, their mood and emotion, half hour by half hour, day by day for a week. So we have a quantitative ethnography of people's lives, and that gives us all these dimensions and 500,000 hours of consumers' daily lives to analyze. So it's a pretty robust, pretty fascinating database, if I do say so myself. All right, so what are we seeing here? So this is a snapshot of one of our respondents. So this is an actual respondent. His name is not actually Alex. He is actually 24. He is actually a post-grad student and a suburbanite. So, and what we're able to do is to look at Alex's data record and tell you the story of his day. So we start with his location at the top. So in the morning he's home, and you can see he's home all morning until he gets in his car at 12:30. Socially, he's alone. So I guess Alex is single. We can look at his activities and his media usage and his emotions. So he's sleeping at 7 o'clock. 7:30 he wakes up. First thing he reaches for his mobile phone and his tablet, both in that first half hour of being awake. That's, no other media. By 8 o'clock he's still on his mobile phone, and you'll see mobile phone, mostly through his whole morning. A little break here, mobile phone again. He's chatting, I guess, on his phone. And I don't know whether that's texting or using an app or social media, what he's doing exactly. Puts on his television's on. But the key thing here is look at the prevalence of mobile media in his morning. He's relaxing, he's chatting, chatting. He eats at 11:30, has something to eat. 12 o'clock he's still eating, he's having television's on. He actually, and it's interesting, he's happy when he gets up, he's happy. Gets on his computer, he's confident. Maybe he was checking the stocks, it was a good day, I don't know. If he had stocks. Confident. He gets on a video game, and suddenly he's worried. So I guess he's not as good as that. At 12:30 he gets back, he gets in his car, still got a cell phone, mobile phone. Radio comes on, because when you're in the car, the radio always comes on. We almost never, ever don't see the radio come on, if that was English. All right, so now we go to his afternoon. He's happy. Where did he go? In his car, he went to the mall. He's shopping by himself. He's by himself. Look at this, all day he's by himself. And for a brief time, he was at the mall. He went, this is a Sunday afternoon, by the way, so that's important. Went to the personal care, probably really went to a barbershop and had some personal care. Radio was on in the barbershop. He was worried. He was getting his hair cut, right? And he was worried. Look at him. I'd be worried too. Okay, so he gets back in the car and he goes home. And he's happy. Mobile phone, e-reader. So he's got a mobile phone, a tablet, an e-reader. He's on the television, he's on the computer, chatting, relaxing. It's all about chatting and relaxing. So here we go up till 6:30. Now it's 7. Mobile phone. He's getting a little bit hungry finally. Remember he had that meal way early in the day, a little snacking, but he's holding off because he's going to eat later. Here's a meal coming up over here. So finally he kind of gets himself together. He's confident. Oh, a little more video game. Look at this, video game. I don't know if you can see that, it's a little blurry. He's frustrated. This guy should just stop playing video games. I don't know what that's all about. But he has a little something to eat. And look at this, 10 o'clock, he does some exercise, but now he gets together with friends. So now we can see this is Sunday evening, 10 o'clock, he kind of pumps up a little bit. He's worried too. You know, what's he worried about? Gets in his car with his friends, they go to a bar, at the top, with friends, they have something to eat or drink, on his mobile phone, 11 o'clock. 11:30, for the first time, well here, I'm sorry, he's with other people for the first time at 10 p.m. At 11:30, he reports that he's with, this is the language we use, partner or spouse, and that little symbol at the top means he went to someone else's home at 11:30, and they were relaxing. Okay, so you know, it's amazing what respondents will show you. But the point of the story is, look at this, mobile phone. He wasn't using his mobile phone while he was driving. Good, mobile phone, and then, you know, well, whatever. Okay, so that's one person. That's just one view of a millennial's use of media, but you kind of get a little foreshadowing of what we're going to see. So what I want to do is take you very quickly through 3 brief ethnographic snapshots. The first one's a little long, the other 2 are pretty brief. So let's look at millennials on the weekend, and I'm going to compare them to boomers. And we want to take a look at you know, their lives in a fairly holistic way. So the first thing we're going to do is say, all right, in the course of the weekend, where are they? And the millennials are in red and the boomers are in blue. And they're kind of similar, if you look at it. It's really pretty similar. The biggest difference is millennials might be in a store a bit more often than, boomers might be in a store more often than millennials, and millennials might be in someone else's home more often than boomers. So boomers, I'll get it right. Boomers shopping, millennials hanging out with friends. What are they doing? So again, we'll just look at the differences there highlighted by those arrows. So kind of in line with being in a store, the boomers are doing housework or chores a little more than their millennial friends. And the millennials are socializing or sleeping or napping. Also a pattern we see a lot. Social setting, the boomers tend to be either on their own a little bit more, it's not that big a deal, but much more often with their partner or spouse or their children. Millennials may not have a partner, spouse, or children, but they will spend their time with coworkers. And this is a weekend, so we saw a lot of weekend working among millennials as well. So you think about the kind of jobs they might have at this stage of life, a lot of weekend stuff, retail, things like that, restaurants. Or they're with their friends more than boomers would be. Or remember that we're talking about younger people here, brothers or sisters or other immediate family or parents. So some of these people are living at home. So let's look at how this flows through the day. So now we're going to take a look at the average, this is the average weekend day, Saturday or Sunday, 6 a.m. till midnight. And here's, again, boomers in blue, and how often are they with friends? What's the incidence? And it kind of rises into the late morning, and that's pretty steady. And by about 7 o'clock, it kind of trails off, a lot less social as the evening wears on. Whereas millennials are just different. They just their involvement with friends grows through the day and just never stops. I mean, all the way to midnight, it never stops. So their nights are later, and their socializing is constant and growing through the day. In contrast, so the boomers in blue here with their partner spouse, pretty steady through the day, a higher level, not really much of a different pattern from the millennials, but again, these people will more likely be married or partnered up in one way or another. We took a little peek at restaurant activity, because when you think about this whole question about socializing, it's kind of interesting. So the millennials were more likely to eat with friends. So you see up here, that line over there. So if they're out in a restaurant, they're going to be with friends, whereas boomers are more likely to be with family. So here, immediate family, partner, spouse. So that kind of fits that pattern of family versus friends, socializing versus functional activities. And to that point, I love this little snapshot where if you had a boomer and a millennial both sitting in a restaurant having a meal, you ask the boomer what he's doing, he's eating, he's having a meal, or she's having a meal. And the millennial is socializing. Same place, same people, exactly the same picture. How they perceive it is different. So that's what, it's one of those clues that socializing is just so important. We also see some interesting things about emotions. So this is just net of all positive emotions. We could dig into some very interesting things here, but time doesn't really allow us to go beyond this, which I still think is interesting. Boomers, again, on the weekend, everyone's positive, 60, 70% positive emotions all the way through the day. Boomers, a bit more positive. When we look at the net of negative emotions, now people don't often report, I was going to say they don't like to, I don't really know. People don't often, that's the fact, people don't often report negative emotions. It's a much lower incidence. So here we're talking about 10, 20% of people reporting any negative emotion in the course of a half hour as you go through the day. But there's a huge gap here, almost 2 to 1, between boomers reporting negative emotions and the millennials reporting negative emotions. So there is this kind of grumpiness that we bump into. In fact, we did a study recently about the workplace, and we showed how much grumpier millennials were in the workplace. But the surprising fact was they were even grumpier in the morning before they went to work. Work made them happier because it was a social environment. So, it does kind of fit together. So this is about media, mobile. So let's look at that. So what are their media choices during the day and how are they different? So the only place where boomers really outpace millennials is on watching television. We have live TV here, but any form of television, you'd see boomers more inclined to use television than millennials. And the only one. The other only one is print. So, and look at this difference. I mean, it's small, and this is average daily reach on the weekend, right? So about 24% of boomers read a magazine or newspaper anytime at all, ever on the weekend. So that's kind of scary. The only thing that's scarier is here's the number for millennials. It looks like it's about a quarter of that. So a lot less print consumption. And we've seen other studies, there are exceptions to that rule. Millennials using magazines during meal preparation. So, Martha Stewart's on the counter while they're following the recipe. I guess I'm just interpreting, but look at where the millennials really exceed the boomers. Mobile talk, social networking, mobile apps or web, mobile text, and video games. Hopefully not too frustrating, but their media choices are really discriminate between the two generations. Now this is going to be a hard one to do, but I thought we'd take a shot at this. So let me see if I can point this out. So this is boomers media through a weekend day from 6 a.m. to 12:30. I know we're going a little further this time. This is television or live TV, and then let's say the blue above that is the web. The light blue is the web. A little email in that brownish color. I want to point out mobile talk in this sort of chartreusey shade. That light color is radio. So just look at that for a second. Now we're just going to go flip back and forth. So you're going to see millennials next. There's millennials, there's boomers. There's millennials, there's boomers. What's different? Well, first of all, millennials start their day later. Okay, so we saw that napping, sleeping. All right, so I'm not saying anything negative here. I like to sleep late on the weekends myself, so maybe I'm a millennial at heart. And then look at the level, right? When you cum up all the media use, 80% of people are using some kind of media at any point in time, and it gets up to almost 100% by the time you get to the evening. If you look at boomers, the levels are just lower. So there's less media use in total. Now, let's look at television. So here's television the way I kind of remember it. Here's a little daytime bump. This is the weekend, so it's not soap operas and things. So a little sports bump, a bigger sports bump, prime time. Right, so just remember that pattern. Remember the level. There's millennials, much less, all the way through the day. Much less all the way through the day. And then just a couple more things. Look at social networking here in blue, right? That light blue, let's go back. It's there. It's about half as much. Now, in both cases, what's interesting is it's really pretty steady through the day. There isn't a prime time for social media. All the time is prime time for social media. And if you look at this, you'll see the same thing for mobile talk, mobile text, Look at the mobile text in that putty kind of color just below the bright blue. That's mobile texting, solid through the day. If you go back to the boomers, barely evident at all. So their media habits really, as you peek at it and you dig into it, it's really, really different. It's just really different. So here's that live TV. Again, we kind of covered this already. Social media, the millennials in red, you can see the levels. We just picked out particular ones to highlight. There's print. It's kind of scary. The boomers, on the weekend, print readership occurs in the morning and not so much later in the day. Although if we looked at digital print, you'd see a somewhat different pattern. So let's move on. So it's just to summarize, millennials socialize when boomers are doing chores. They be at a friend's house when boomers are shopping. They be with friends, siblings, or parents when boomers are with their spouse or kids. They're a little grumpy. Boomers are a little more positive. And they're using mobile and social media where boomers might be using television and print. They both use radio and the web. Much more media diversity, much more television. So real quickly, I want to just take a peek at snacking. So what's one activity here? So here's media used during snacking. So television, yeah, okay, right. So you can picture somebody sitting on the couch with a bowl of popcorn or whatever. But for men, on this side, millennial men, mobile, non-talk applications of mobile, texting or social, is the next biggest, most prevalent form of media in use. If you look at women, mobile media is still the second most prevalent form of media during snacking, but they're using a tablet or an iPad by brand name. Their use of mobile is a bit further down. Mobile phones is a bit further down the line. So, it's right there at yet another moment when they're snacking. And I'm a little short on time, so I want to just summarize to say that mobile is an important medium for reaching millennials while snacking, but the choice of device is gender dependent. So there's a little more details as we look deeper into this. Last thing I want to do is take a look at moms. And here we actually compare 3 generations. And you'll see the same pattern here. What's different from millennials versus the other two is this big red blotch over here, connecting. So that's socializing, social media, talking, chatting, just connecting. And what's bigger for the older generations is that dark blue, what we call basic duties. So chores, housekeeping, childcare, the basic duties of life. And that really, the other things are pretty similar, but that balance of power really, or balance of activities really helps define the difference between the generations. When we look at their media usage during meal preparation, so a lot of television, Gen Xers and Boomers, pretty similar there, a lot less television, so that's consistent with what we've seen before. Internet is more Gen X, and email is definitely not millennial, but mobile talk or text, very heavy for millennials, also Gen Xers, less so for boomers. Here's the thing that really surprised us is one down from the top, 12% radio usage. So radio seems to be very, very resilient across all the generations. We've seen that again and again. But here, social media, 11%, similar for Gen Xers, much less for boomers. So you can see where the Gen Xers in some ways straddle. More television just like boomers, more mobile just like millennials. And here's the thing I was talking about before, print, 10% using print during meal preparation. So again, that's a little Martha Stewart analogy. I might skip the next couple of slides because I think we've really covered this and I want to be careful to stay on time. So just to summarize that, the differences again, at mealtime, millennials are using mobile and social media, where the boomers are watching television more, they're connecting more, where the boomers are doing chores more. And the part I just didn't show you, so I'll just give you the summary, is on weekdays, millennials are socializing at night with family and friends, immediate family, like siblings and parents and things, family and friends using mobile and social media, and that makes these millennial moms happy. Whereas Gen Xers and Boomers tend to socialize later in the evening and mostly with their immediate family, husband, parent, well, these are moms, so I guess is a husband, partner, and children. So just in summary, what we've seen in these studies and lots of other studies is millennials are defined by the use of mobile and social media in their lifestyle. and they're socializing, which it helps define them as well, and they are occasionally just a little bit grumpy. So I think I've got a minute if anyone's got a question.
We'll take questions at the end.
Okay, great. Okay, great, thanks.